Music culture from the past, the present, and the future. We have our music critic Kim Young-dae joining us in the studio for Back to the Culture. Welcome back to the studio. Hello, hello.
Good to be back.
Especially today, because this is a topic that I wanted to particularly discuss, and a question that I've always had. So we're going to talk about male-female groups.
Mixed group.
Mixed groups.
There was a time,
yes.
actually, a long time ago. There was a time, actually, the mixed group was a thing.
It was a thing, but we don't really see them.
Can't believe it right now, because we don't have many of them. Many of that type anymore, but actually there was a thing. It was a thing back then.
So, the reason why I brought this up is because when you first came to our show to talk about BTS, we talked about, some of the songs that I enjoyed listening to. And one of the groups that I talked about was ZAM.
Actually, ZAM.
ZAM, right? Yeah, right. And then you have to go JAM.
Yeah.
But ZAM. And because that was a mixed group as well. And, again, we're going to be, going through a lot of these old groups in the past where, like you said, they were really prolific and there was a lot more mixed groups out there. Can you tell us about some of the, the 90s mixed groups that really stand out for you?
Well, you mean the group?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Jam and probably Jam and 철이와 미애. Remember them?
I do.
A duo.
Yes.
This is Jam.
All right,
난 멈추지 않는다.
So for our listeners out there, this was my first love in K-pop. This was back in
94.
94, and this is the first
92,
time.
I guess.
No, it is 92 because
92.
that's when I came to the U.S.
Yeah. They were called as a kind of rival to the two different groups. One of them is 서태지와 아이들, and the other one is Noise.
No, oh really?
Yeah.
So they weren't rivals to Rula?
Well, shortly after they have some rivalry with Rula and some other groups, but when they made a debut, well, people in the industry would say, well, we have 서태지와 아이들, but now we have ZAM, and ZAM was kind of modeled after a Japanese group called ZOO.
Oh, really?
Probably they named after it. ZOO, ZAM. So kind of similar spelling.
I have actually a question with Jem because I talked to my producer about this regarding this group because I was so young back then. I was actually in first grade in elementary school when I first listened to this group. Elementary school. How popular were they? Because I felt like I was like one of the few people that actually listened to them.
Definitely the biggest among the newcomers.
Oh, really?
Back then.
Okay.
Again, well, Noise was one of the biggest group back then, and but ZAM often compared to Noise, and they would say ZAM would be the next 서태지와 아이들 at the same time.
That's a big
But
statement.
the thing is, they had only one album that was really popular.
Yeah.
Well, the second album was kind of moderate success, but the first one is definitely crazy. They had probably two number one and two other kind of big, less bigger than the 난 멈추지 않는다, the song we just heard.
Yeah.
But that song, 난 멈추지 않는다, was a smash hit. One of the biggest songs in 92, 93.
Yeah.
And the formation and the type, I mean, the one female and five male. Four maybe. Four male singer/dancers. They're usually more of a dancers. One of them, 진수, forgot the family name.
Yeah.
이진수, 김진수, probably. Yeah, I mean the oldest one.
Right.
Yeah, he was really fantastic singer. But other members are usually dancers rather than singers.
Right.
And Yoon Hyun-suk, the president itself, is really unique because every other members are male and there's one female. So there's a kind of weird dynamic, and it brought a lot of curiosity about their relationship. I mean, personal relationship between Yoon Hyun-suk and other male members. A lot of speculations and rumors. So it was an interesting group.
It was also interesting to hear about those scandals because Yoon Hyun-suk actually happens to be my mom's name. So it's like when you see the newspaper and you're like, Mom.
But you know what? There's actually zero evidence and zero really substantial report about that relationship between Yoon Hyun-suk and other members. So nothing was confirmed.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk a little bit about these, I guess, scandals and things like that. But, 철이와 미애 is, I guess, they were a duo.
Probably the oldest.
The oldest.
Probably oldest mixed group.
Because
but they're the duo. Well, ZAM is five-member group, but this is a duo reminding me of, you remember Twilight Zone?
Yes.
2 Unlimited.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of similar format back then in Europe, in Japan, in US. There's this kind of, I don't know, it was a trend, it was fashion that so one diva, kind of like mystic voice kind of diva in one group, and the other one is usually DJ or the rapper and the producer of the group. So 2 Unlimited is the group they actually try to copy. Yeah, in terms of the format.
This song, 너는 왜, probably one of the most renowned songs from the duo.
Yeah, it was a huge hit in a Gangnam downtown nightclub. I mean, seriously, because that's
I could assume so.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, in early 1990s, since I think the late 80s, there was a new boom of nightclub in Gangnam downtown. Usually, a lot of nightclubs, especially for adults, were built in Gangbuk area. So this new Gangnam downtown and the heyday of Gangnam downtown is the reason why Korean pop music, K-pop as a dance music was flourished.
Really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
So they're the one of the first like waves of Korean techno, Korean house, or later known as K-pop.
You know what? The group that really stand out for me, again, I talked about Jam, but Rula.
Rula, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, the members of that group, went through a lot of controversy later on. But I mean, this is a group that I feel like everybody fell in love with.
Yeah.
Even in the US, they were so big that everyone had the cassette tape to Rula.
Or a unique combination of sexy female singer and more of a kind of girl crush, like naughty, girl hip-hopper, dancer, and 3 other, not singers actually, they're rappers.
Yeah.
And their major genre was reggae and reggae hip-hop. So everything around this group was unique back then. Yeah.
I want to also talk about this particular group, Tutu. Because I feel like they were one of the more underrated groups out there.
They came same year, Tutu and Rula.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were probably the biggest rival in
1과 2분의
1994.
1.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the song that we're hearing. This is one of the more iconic 90s songs out
absolutely.
there. Oh man, I really love this segment.
Yeah, it's so sad. The lead vocalist, Kim Ji-hoon, passed away many years ago. But still, people remember this song, sing along this song. When is it 노래방?
Yeah.
And Rula Tutu. It's a weird year, 1994. One of the heyday of 90s K-pop. But at the same time, it was probably one of the only year that reggae was actually the biggest thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Tutu, Rula, Kim Jong-un, 나는 걸었어.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of reggae pop hits was in the top 10 chart at then.
It's really interesting. And then you kind of move forward, right? And then, you go into like the early 2000s and so forth. You have groups like Koyote, you have Sharp, right?
Yeah, not Coyote, it's Koyote.
Not Coyote, it's Koyote.
Right.
And, some of these, the members of Koyote, certain particular members kind of changed here and there.
Right.
You're listening to Koyote's Passion. But nowadays, a lot of people know Kim Jong-min more as an entertainer rather than a singer who started off, by the way, as a back dancer for Jong-hwa, right?
Yeah. He was a really good dancer, and when they made a debut as Koyote, Kim Jong-min was one of the handsome guys in the group, not actually as a funny guy. But now people talking about Kim Jong-min as a more kind of like silly, goofy, like funny, good-natured guy. But they were big, pretty big in the nightclub. This is really the nightclub dance music they danced to.
Right.
Back in 1998, 7, I think.
They've just been around for such a long time. And then there you have, of course, Sharp that I mentioned. How do you describe Sharp? Because they were both like dance, and they also had ballad songs.
Right. They're more of a pop group rather than dance group. It's more close to, later days K-pop group, I think, because they're very eclectic and they do everything. They're kind of like well-balanced, like male-female mixed group, I think.
I feel like we're going into like the 8090 radio show, the 80s, 90s radio show right now.
Yeah, DJ SJ.
DJ SJ and YD.
Nightclub.
And then, I mean, these are incredible songs right now. Let's go into a completely different genre, okay? Because hip-hop, although hip-hop right now is so big, I personally, for myself, I'm a big fan of hip-hop music. I like listening to guys like, Toki, Simon Dominic, you name it, the name goes, endless. But back in the days, you talk about hip-hop, you have groups like Uptown.
You know what? We didn't have a vocabulary. We didn't have a word hip-hop back then.
Really?
We used to have rap dance.
Really?
Yeah. We called it just rap or dance music because many people back then thought rap and dance were the same thing. Rap and dance music, whatever dance is.
Okay.
Techno, house, rap, they regarded those are same genres. But later in 1990s, people started to use the term explicitly, hip-hop, especially among Korean Americans.
Okay.
Like Solid, Uptown,
yes,
Tiger JK.
Right.
So they're actually one of the kind of like origins. I think there are 3 different origins in Korean hip hop, but these Korean American guys they're one of the major streams in Korean hip hop.
I mean, we know how big hip hop music is now here in South Korea, but when it was first kind of introduced, right?
It was shocker.
It was a shocker?
Absolutely shocker.
Okay.
You listen to this, Yumire still sounds really like contemporary,
right.
And the sounds I would say like urban or African American. So those unique vocal timbre and quality and the other guys, they're all like having a more of a kind of cosmopolitan, like foreign manners in terms of like the language they used and their kind of different, unique demeanor, and the fact that they're all from different sides of the United States or different world. And different heritage like Spanish, African American mix, and 유학생 정현준. So all these different types of, I would say, kind of modern image of Korean youth.
You know what's interesting is we talked about Sharp, and we also talked about Uptown.
Yeah.
I actually know someone who actually was part of both groups in the past, and he was a Korean American.
Right, the female, right?
No, not the female. He was a guy, and he was rather, he had his role here at Arirang as well.
Oh.
His name was John Kim. John Kim.
Okay.
And, we know him by something else here on Arirang. But he was, again, a Korean American. And I felt like there was in a period where a lot of Korean Americans were being, I guess, picked up. And put in these kind of groups out there. And so we're seeing a little bit more difference in that, there's so many people now, so many like Koreans who know English. But let's go a little bit more closer to this era because I didn't know whether or not to call this a group. Troublemaker. Like, I thought maybe it was just like a special duo that they made.
Right.
Hyuna?
Yeah, it's a kind of like special, kind of one-time.
Yeah.
More of a, but
see, you
anyway.
talked about nightclub. This was my nightclub song. this was my nightclub song back in the 2009 to 2010 era.
Well, you know what? This particular song, and the performance in particular, and the presence of Hyuna. And the other song, Bubblegum, Bubble Pop by Hyuna, completely changed how we view K-pop.
Yes, was that a shocker though?
Absolutely. And it was really a controversial performance in terms of how they could be erotic, kind of sexy and very passionate in the at the stage. And it was not a common thing in K-pop. K-pop is more of a moderate, kind of well-balanced, not explicit, more of implicit, but this thing that's why we call Hyuna is actually kind of pioneering performer in K-pop.
I mean, you thought people were shocked. You know how shocked I was when I started seeing Hyuna like this? I used to like her when she was with the Wonder Girls, when she was so innocent. And then all of a sudden she comes out with, Troublemaker.
It's a redefine. They actually redefine the concept.
Okay.
I mean, the whole concept of K-pop.
All right, so the reason why we bring this up, okay, is because some of my favorite groups in the past were mixed groups, okay? We talked about ZAM. I was a big fan of Rula. I was a big fan of Sharp, I liked Uptown growing up in New York. You know, it kind of, resounded very similar to kind of the music that I was listening to in New York and so forth. But the big question now is, by the way, before we go into this, a little known fact. Did you know that G.O.D. was supposed to be a mixed group?
I think I heard that. There was oldest one. I think the oldest female members were there.
It was supposed to be,
but actress, she left right before they...
Do you know who that was? Kim Sona, the actress.
Oh, yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
So
it would have been a kind of interesting mix.
Yeah. Anyway. G.O.D. was supposed to be a mixed group, and then Kim Tae-woo came out towards the end. But, okay, so my question is, we had all these incredible mixed groups in the past. Why not now, though?
Well, I think from producer perspective, I think mixed group basically is a fantastic format to explore different genres, to create the different kind of tension at the stage, to create a different mood and style. But ultimately, I think there's a lot of like maintenance fee, figuratively, literally. I think it could make things really complex. I mean, there should be different types of issues and tensions between two different sex. Sometimes two different sides among this group, and it is still less predictable. That's one thing I think from a producer's point of view. The other thing is, it is, I think, less advantageous in terms of getting more engaged superfans. Because if you're male, it's easy for you to be engaged in all-female group rather than in a mixed group or depending on preference. But I don't know.
There was a point in time when I was a big fan of HOT, and they were an all-guy group.
Yeah, you can enjoy the music, but in a bigger picture, I think it's more easy for having one sex group to have a sometimes mostly opposite sex fans.
You're right, because I would be a fan of HOT, but I would not shake the white balloons that they used to with the fans. I would shake the pink balloons, which represented baby boys.
So it would be safer choice.
Because what I thought was, and this was again just my speculation, I thought there was just less and less of these mixed groups because, let's face it, you know how they say like sometimes there's no such thing as a female friend and male friend? Something always happens. Yeah. And so I thought there was just too much trouble with relationships within the group. Yeah. And then let's say like they do secretly, and back in the days, everyone was like going out with each other secretly, and then they break up. Yeah. And then they don't want to be in the same group. And so like troubles like that, I thought was maybe one of the reasons for why that there's just no mixed groups anymore.
Yeah, I think, and also that kind of like trouble is hard to kind of repair sometimes because it's very delicate. And it hurts, everyone's. Among male groups, it's always easy to shake it off. I mean, all the troubles with just one good like event or something like that. Yeah. But in mixed group, it's less predictable. But also at the same time, if you really want that kind of performance these days, you can just collaborate. Yeah,
featuring. There's so many good featurings. You're right. Actually, you're right. Now, because we've been seeing less mixed groups, we've been seeing just more featuring.
Yeah, Troublemaker is part of, kind of like semi-featuring type of group. Saxody, a few years ago.
Because our writer put Saxody as a mixed group. And I said...
a mixed group project.
Yeah, I guess it's a project, right? You have P, Lee-hyori, and Lee Jae-seok. We have Saxony music as well.
It's really timely song.
Yeah, because it's really cold right now. And we're going to be listening to this song from Saxony. But speaking of which, so we're never going to see mixed groups anymore then because it's monetarily, financially, it's more beneficial for the companies to have featuring going on.
Yeah, so I don't think it will be coming back in full style as a substantially kind of new big trend. I think it's still a part of like a collaboration and the featuring type of, or like Saxody, it will be a kind of throwback, a little bit like a tribute to Rula, tribute to ZAM kind of performance. But I don't think it would be in short run, I don't think it's going to be a big trend again.
Yeah. Again, I mean, this is just coming from me who, enjoyed listening to music during the 90s, right? I still consider, the 90s and the 2000s as the heyday of K-pop music before the international community started listening. But it is interesting. But nonetheless, of course, thanks to just a lot of MP3 files and just music being available on the internet.
YouTube.
YouTube
has everything.
Listen to everything.
That's all I can say.
That's what I do. I just write 90년대 가요, like 90s K-pop music. We didn't even call it K-pop back in the days, right? We call it 가요.
Or dance 가요.
대중가요.
Something like that.
Okay, so I mean, things have really changed. And
if you want a full version, go to YouTube.
For our listeners out there, do check it out. I mean, these are the songs that really we grew up listening to, and it really shows you the evolution of how we went from, I guess, the 가요, as we used to call it back in the days, to the kind of music that we have, and it really has evolved a lot since then.
This is fun, SJ.
It was really fun. It brings me back. I had a fantastic time talking with this with you, Young-dae. As always, thank you very much.
See you.
And we'll see you again next week.
You can listen to Korea Now with me, SJ Lee, by downloading the Arirang radio application or tune in online by visiting www.arirangradio.com. So make sure you tune in Mondays through Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Korea time.